is some controversy about the use of humor in psychotherapy sessions. Some say it helps to increase rapport and may break the ice. Others note that with some sensitive clients, humor may be seen as intrusive or unwanted. We spoke with Laura Frohboese in Charlotte, North Carolina, about her use of humor in psychotherapy sessions.
I'm Laura Frohboese. I'm a social worker. I graduated 22 years ago, and I've enjoyed it almost the entire time. I've been in private practice for about 12 years. It was after having worked in hospitals and mental health centers. I decided to kind of go off on my own and do my own thing a little bit. I've been here with Cornerstone Counseling for 12 years. Now there are 4 of us, and it's been a really good experience. I love doing that. I also work at the hospital a couple days a week, and I have this book, Sally Social Worker. You know you're a social worker if. It's a compilation of all different scenarios. You know you're a social worker if, for example, you've been cussed at and you just let it roll right off of you. You have the best stories in any room, but you can't tell any of them because of HIPAA. You know where to buy drugs, you know all the best places in town to go. And you can move from that into meeting up with your friends and having a casual conversation. Writing it was not hard. It's a series of you know you're a social worker if. I wound up having lots more material. I had more material than I had money to pay an illustrator to illustrate it. I had all the content written pretty quickly, and I think the biggest challenge was finding an illustrator. Let me back up. First, I tried to draw it myself, and it looked like a stick figure. So there's a real art to being an actual artist. It was hard to find somebody, first of all, who wasn't super expensive. But to find somebody who was willing to draw a character with a certain personality. And then we met several times because I was really particular. I wanted her to be funny, but also pretty grounded and mature. So to be goofy, but also have good boundaries. And there are certain things that somebody who is not a mental health professional might not know. Like there were certain cartoons where she was embracing a client, say, and I had to say that's probably not what Sally would be doing. The first iteration she was dressed a little hoochier than I think most social workers dress. So now we've gone the other extreme where she's wearing a very high neck shirt and a long skirt, which is probably closer to how I dress. So where do I get my material? I'm just naturally corny, I think. I also really like listening to different podcasts. I like listening to comedians. And I think the more that you hear things, you start picking up on things. I just have a weird sense of humor. I'll be standing in line at Harris Teeter and my mind starts to think, I wonder how many people have ever thought this or how many people have ever done that. I think humor definitely is a great way to deflect anything that's uncomfortable. And we all do that. I laugh nervously. Probably doing that now. And, I think it works. Hey, there are worse defense mechanisms to use. I think when it's like maybe the 6th or 7th session and the client is still joking about things, then it's time to kind of gently push a little bit more. I wonder if there's something behind that humor. I think you can tell. I've had a couple clients who were hilarious, and I can imagine they're just the life of the party. They're always hilarious, and you can never really get to know them. And it's so interesting that they'll talk about feeling lonely, and I'll bring it up. You probably feel lonely because people don't really get to know that real you. That being funny is just part of who you are, but you can also be vulnerable and talk about things that aren't funny, and people still like you. You don't have to be on all the time. What makes me so sad is a lot of people who don't really know about therapy and just see it on TV or hear it word of mouth think that it's this process of just talking about things that aren't working and telling sad stories and complaining about things, and that's not what therapy is. Because who would want to do that? That sounds really depressing. So I try to let people know that therapy is a great process of looking at yourself and learning to like yourself and not take yourself as seriously. I think that's one of the best things in overcoming anxiety and depression is to be able to use humor with yourself. Not to laugh at yourself, but to laugh at yourself in certain situations. I think when in doubt, you don't use humor. I think you always use humor when you think, okay, this is going to help with the situation. I think at least initially, there are a lot of just awkward moments. The process of coming in here, meeting up with a complete stranger and talking about, these are the things that aren't going well in my life. These are things that I don't tell anybody else. It's just a weird process. And I think we have to be able to joke about that. I laugh about things. On my old business card, it had therapist as two separate words. So it looked like the rapist. Another one said psychotherapist as two separate words. So I joke about it. Maybe I'm the psychotherapist. I think we have to be able to laugh at ourselves.